If you've gone through a breakup recently, then you know how complicated they can be. And though yours might have seemed straightforward in the moment, there are so many little nuances that at the end of the day, it can feel almost impossible to sort through and say what exactly happened and who was really at fault. So then, why is your ex insisting that they did nothing wrong and that you're the one to blame for the entire thing? Maybe they have some pretty nasty stuff to say about what you did and didn't do that led to the breakup. But are they right? Why would they say those things if they weren't actually true? Well, I'm here to tell you that outside of a few very extreme cases, there's really no way that you are completely to blame for your breakup. The truth is always a lot more complicated. So today we're going to talk about why your ex might be blaming you, what they're getting out of it, and what it means for your chances of getting them back. We'll also talk a bit about how you have to handle your ex at this point, because with them holding this over your head, it's going to be harder to interact with them normally, regardless of who's actually right or wrong. And then, of course, I'll tell you how to get them back. I'm Brad Browning, by the way, aka Breakup Brad. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And now let's get into it. So first, let's quickly talk about blame as a concept. Now, I am going to get pretty granular here, but stay with me because we are going to get into the good stuff about your ex and your breakup situation in just a second. But first, something you need to understand. Basically, as humans, when something goes wrong, we're looking to fix the problem. And to do this, we of course have to first understand why it happened. And to do that, we want to find out the cause. So let's say, you come home and you see that your kitchen is covered in garbage. Chip bags and coffee grounds all over the place. The rug has a bunch of pasta ground into it. Really nasty. So you see that the garbage can has been knocked over, but that doesn't explain it fully because it's really everywhere. And then you see your dog in the corner of the room with a guilty look on his face and a dirty Ziploc bag stuck in his collar. Now obviously you could say, okay, the dog got into the garbage and made a huge mess. You've found the cause of the problem, and now you can actually work towards a solution. You can move the garbage can so your dog can get into it, you can train them, whatever. The point is that the solution is informed by the idea that your dog was to blame for what happened. So really, blame isn't all bad. It's a necessary step in many scenarios. If you didn't place blame with your dog for getting into the garbage, then you'd really have no way of approaching the problem. And so that's why this is the pattern that we follow every time something goes wrong. But often, we let that blame become the main event. We say, who's at fault here? Let's name them, shame them, and make sure what a big mess they made. And then that's where we leave it. We use it really as an excuse to hate on somebody with no desire to even fix the problem. And this is especially true in a breakup. The relationship is done. Your ex isn't looking to fix things, presumably, at least not for now. So it's over for them. So really, what is the point of the blame? What does your ex get out of blaming you for the breakup? What are they looking for when they do this? Are they just, trying to hurt you? Well, there's actually a few things that your ex wants here. First, they want to justify the breakup for themselves. So maybe the real reason for the breakup is, something that they don't even want to admit, even to themselves. Maybe they found their heart straying to somebody else. They lost attraction for you because you're aging or gaining weight or something. And they don't want to admit, hey, I'm a shallow person, or, hey, I let myself get involved with somebody else emotionally while I still had a partner. Or, and this is a lot more common than I think people realize, they don't even know why they wanted to end the relationship. Now, I'm sure they seem to have good reasons, but the truth is that ending a relationship is an emotional act first and foremost. Most of the time, our reasons for this are just cobbled together after the fact, just to justify the breakup in our own minds. So really, they may not know why they did it, and this can be really terrifying. They think, well, it happened for no reason. So next time I'm in a relationship, I'm just a ticking time bomb. I might just end things again out of nowhere and have no idea why. And that's an unbearable feeling, to know that you might lose your whole relationship due to some emotional process you have no awareness of. So they'd much rather say, it was your fault. You neglected me, or you smothered me, or you didn't show me love in the way I wanted. And this way, they don't have to face uncomfortable truths about themselves or about the relationship. They can live on in peace, knowing that you were the bad actor and they were the innocent victim. So what your ex gets out of blaming you is mental peace. They don't have to think to reckon with anything, really. They can place all the negativity squarely on your shoulders and leave it behind with you in their past. They get to maintain their own self-esteem, at least if they can convince themselves that they did nothing wrong. Now, one of the other factors at play here is your ex's mixed emotions. So what I see a lot is that the breakup will happen and your ex doesn't want to get back together, but they still have all these mixed up feelings for you. They love you, they hate you, they wish things were different, but also, they feel they can't really fix things. So again, in order to avoid having to actually sit with those feelings, they'll focus on their anger and they'll take it out on you. And as before, it's just a way of simplifying the emotions they're feeling and really making it your problem. Because, they're really angry right now. Obviously, your actions are probably the cause of some of their anger, but there's usually more to it than that. In my experience, it's typically the loss of potential that will upset an ex the most. So really, they thought this relationship was it. They thought it was going to be the thing that finally made them happy. They had this whole future planned out where you two would be together and, build a life together. And now that's all gone. And whose fault is it? Well, yours, obviously. You're denying them this future that you could have had together by causing the breakup. Again, of course, it's an oversimplification just to make them feel better. Because when we're in pain, we definitely stop seeing the shades of gray. So I think if you could really look into your ex's brain and see their true thoughts, you'd see that your ex knows that it's not that simple. They'd admit that they made mistakes too, and then it wasn't 100% on you that the breakup happened. But right now, they need to believe that it was your fault because feeling better is more important to them than actually being honest and fixing the problem. So unfortunately, there is no way to really read your ex's mind, but I have come up with a way to tell how your ex is feeling towards you just by answering a few simple questions about your breakup. So just go to breakupbrad.com/quiz and take my free quiz. It's the best way to get insight into your ex's mind, to gauge their willingness to give your relationship another shot, and to get some personalized guidance to maximize your chances. Again, you can take that for free at breakupbrad.com/quiz. All right, now, this is the part where we get into some more nuance around why your ex is placing blame on you for the breakup. And one of those reasons is that your ex felt that you never listened to them or you never heard their side of the story. They think that you're walking around like, wow, my ex is such an idiot. They're crazy. I don't know what their problem is. And even though, I'm sure that's not how you feel, you might have made your ex feel this way by how you dealt with conflict in the relationship. So did you always minimize their feelings and sort of magnify your own? Were you always really, defensive and argumentative? Maybe you failed to admit fault sometimes? And if you fell into this pattern, then placing blame is probably less about the breakup itself and more of a last-ditch attempt to get you to admit that you actually made some mistakes sometimes and that it's not all your ex's fault that things went wrong. This is a really common pattern, and it's what causes these huge blow-up fights. Because chances are your ex can be the exact same way. They also have a similar problem with admitting fault and a tendency to fall short when it comes to communication. And really, when no one wants to meet halfway, we can end up feeling like the other person just doesn't understand us or doesn't care about us. It feels like our needs don't matter to them. And of course, that's a very hard feeling to swallow. So even though, you might make up with your ex after these fights, you were both still left with that lingering feeling that you couldn't raise concerns without being invalidated. And this might be why your ex is coming at you so hard now. They're trying to finally get that admission of guilt from you so that they can stop feeling this way. Now, as I said, we love to place blame on somebody else so that we don't have to face our own role in the breakup. And essentially, that's why you're here watching this video today. I bet it felt pretty good to hear me say that it's not all your fault and that your ex is just blaming you to make themselves feel better. And I certainly do stand by that. But of course, you do also have to look at your own behavior and ask yourself, what was my role in all this? Because just as it's not all, 100% your fault, it's also not 100% your ex's fault. The truth is that both you and your ex are almost certainly both to blame for what happened. I'm sure if I asked you, what your ex did wrong, you'd have a whole, 10-page list prepared, including footnotes, explaining every single time that they made you feel bad or didn't take out the trash or forgot your anniversary or whatever. But for now, I'm asking what you did wrong. This isn't an attack, but the truth is that, of course, you did make mistakes. And since you only have control over your own actions are the ones that are most important for you to actually reflect on. So what your ex did is well documented, but you need to try to face your own problems and try to actually address them, or they're just going to keep cropping up in every relationship moving forward, whether that's with your ex or with somebody new. So don't make excuses. Face these things head on. I'd really advise you to actually, look at the relationship and the breakup from your ex's point of view. Write down, their big issues with you. List all the times you think they were upset by your behavior. And then pick out the ones that you think are actually valid and decide what you do differently, knowing what you know now. Now, please don't call up your ex and read this to them over the phone or anything like that. The purpose of this exercise is just to address the guilt and the shame that you might feel over the breakup. Because as long as you're carrying that around, you're going to end up fighting with your ex and failing to really connect with them. Because you know what you did wrong, and whenever your ex throws that in your face, you're going to feel shame about it. And to avoid that feeling, you're probably going to make excuses. then that's exactly what your ex is doing by blaming you for everything. They're trying to shift the blame to avoid accountability and safeguard their own self-esteem. So don't fall into the same trap, or you'll end up right where they are. So make this list so that you can understand where you went wrong and where your ex is just shifting the blame. And now, when you do talk to your ex, you can do so without spiraling and lashing out. And really, that's just the first step that you can take to make it easier for you to win your ex back when they're trying to blame you for everything. So the next obvious question that I get here is, should I apologize to my ex? Obviously, they probably want that apology from you, but will it actually help you get them back? Or is it just going to seal your fate and give them an excuse to move on and leave you in the dust? Well, of course, the answer is a little bit complicated. First, we need to look at what went wrong in the relationship. And basically, did you make any big mistakes that you actually should be apologizing for? Like, did you cheat on them, lie to them, seriously neglect or abuse them, maybe betrayed them in some way? Really be honest with yourself here, because there's really no point in lying to yourself. Your pride isn't worth this relationship going down in flames. And if you do find that you have done something like this, and you haven't sufficiently apologized to your ex already, then now may be the time to do that. Now, I'm going to include a link in the description to one of my past videos where I explain exactly how to apologize to your ex in order to make them forgive you. Now, unfortunately, it's not as easy as you might think, so if you do decide that an apology is necessary, please watch that video first, because I promise it's going to be helpful. But again, on the other hand, if your mistakes were only minor, or if you've actually already made a good apology for what you did, then you can definitely skip this step and move on to the next phase of the process. And believe it or not, the next phase is going to be some form of no contact. As always, giving your ex space is never a bad idea, especially if they're coming at you with, a lot of blame and shame tactics. You may think that you want to address these issues, but really, please trust me when I say that it's just going to lead to another big fight that will just give your ex a reason to block you and leave you all alone. So you need to show to your ex that you're not going to engage in conversations like that. In the short term, this is probably going to make them a little bit more angry, but after a few weeks, it's going to give them a chance to settle down and really sit with their uncomfortable feelings. All but the very most stubborn exes are going to use that opportunity to do a little bit of self-reflection and see that, while you did make mistakes, you weren't the only one at fault in this situation. And, at the same time, you need to reflect in a similar way. And more specifically, you need to look at the mistakes that your ex made during the relationship and the breakup. You need to, see what it was that they did wrong, and you need to write it down so that you have some more clarity on the issue. And then, and this is the most important part, you need to forgive your ex. I know that might be hard, knowing what hell your ex just put you through and how they've been blaming you for all their problems for weeks or maybe months, but it's necessary. It should be clear to you now how ineffective blame becomes when it's not used as a basis for resolution. Blame, it is a tool that can help us settle issues, but now that you two are far apart, blame is only going to serve to create more problems. So try to forgive your ex as best as you can over the coming weeks. Process the damage and say to yourself, I understand why they did what they did, and I forgive them. They were doing the best they could with the tools they had available. Now don't worry, this doesn't mean that you have to, let your ex off the hook completely. Of course they made mistakes and they'll have to face up to that when the time comes, but those conversations really should only take place once you two have reconnected and actually created a solid foundation. So giving your ex space, not engaging with their narrative is your best option. Once you've had, a few weeks of no contact, then it's time to reach out to your ex and start beginning the process of reattraction. Now that you have been apart, you're both going to have the opportunity to cool off. So don't dive right back into the drama immediately with more blame or even by hitting them with an apology out of the blue. Instead, just treat them like you did when you first started dating. Take things slow, try to make them laugh, and reconnect over your shared interests and values. I've made a ton of videos in the past about how to rebuild your ex's attraction for you and get them to take you back. So please check out my playlist here on YouTube for a lot more in-depth advice and steps to actually finishing the job and giving them to give you your relationship another chance. All right, that brings us to the end here, guys. I hope that I've helped you to at least understand blame and what its role is in a breakup, both good and bad. So take that information forward with you as you reconnect with your ex and build a better relationship next time around. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and leaving your comments. I love reading all of your comments, and I try to respond to all of them, even the haters. But for now, I'm Brad Browning. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.